coping with anxiety is not enough. No matter what you're hurt, all these coping skills and mechanisms, they may work for a while, but they will never really help you to overcome and grow from your anxiety, because all they do is actually making the anxiety even dig in deeper its heels and stay longer with you, because you're not changing how you see yourself or how you see the world. There are especially 3 coping mechanisms that are the most common ones. There is avoidance, there is pleasing, and there is control. Now, I wrote a book about the avoidance and the pleasing mechanisms in The Empowerment Solution. And I want to just briefly talk about the 3 and tell you why they are not working for you to heal your anxiety. The avoidance is basically avoiding anything that potentially can hurt you or anything that potentially can make you feel uncomfortable. So this may be avoidance of being seen. You don't want to, draw too much attention because you don't want to get judged or rejected. This can be the avoidance of dealing with things that feel overwhelming, the classic procrastination. This can be avoidance of dealing with your past, but then still living with your past and always having the shadow of whatever happens, what trauma or abuse occurred or betrayal or disappointment, be something you drag with you and you never really come out of it. And so this avoidance of wanting to not, or the avoidance as a way to not wanting to have any kind of pain or unpleasant experience, makes you basically focus so much on the outside and so much on what you don't want to deal with, that you don't even ask the question, what if I could deal with it? What if I actually have the ability to clean up my mess? What if it would be actually totally freeing and very empowering to be seen just for who I am and really not care so much about what other people are thinking? I just was about to say a French word. And what if it would be totally okay for me to also not just let the past be something written in stone and feel like, well, this is my lot in life and I always have to be in that victim mentality of I'm a survivor of ... But what if I can actually rewrite history and get a new perspective about it and see that what happened to me didn't destroy me or didn't take away the core essence of who I really am? What if there are other ways to deal with the things that I have been avoiding? Same with conflict. So many people are avoiding conflict because they feel, well, it doesn't lead to anything. It only makes me feel scared and anxious, and then I get tongue-tied. And well, that means that you really are not seeing what conflict is supposed to be. Conflict is a symptom. It's a symptom of ultimately a communication that hasn't really gone exactly the way that would be productive and leading to a resolution. Sometimes it cannot be avoided because maybe the person you're talking to is too shut down and not really willing to listen or make any kind of adjustments. And sometimes it can also be really giving you great clarity because you realize, oh, this is what this person's about, so now I know, and I feel good about myself because I actually spoke up. I gave myself a voice, and that was already the win. Doesn't matter what response I get. So there are always ways to, look at your things that you have been avoiding in a much more, again, encouraging and empowering perspective. But the problem with the avoidance, again, is that you're not building trust in yourself. You're basically saying that the security that your anxious self is looking for depends on the absence of any of those people or situations that you try to get away from. And that is not a very empowering and not very trustworthy way of going through life. It actually makes the anxious side still believe, oh yeah, we're still 5 years old and we still have to hide in a wardrobe and there are still the parents fighting outside and that's scary. So I guess nothing has changed. But a lot has changed. And it's so interesting that a lot of people that are avoiding are only avoiding in one aspect of their life, let's say in their social relationship aspect. But when it comes to work, say they're working in a hospital or a bank, they feel really confident and competent because that is outside of whatever the anxiety has early on learned needs to be avoided. If you have been somehow a wallflower in school, well, any kind of social interactions outside of work may feel scary and need to be avoided. So you stay at home pretty much every evening and every weekend because you don't feel like you can have normal conversations. But as soon as you're at work, you are feeling calm and again, like a grown-up, because that's the role that you have taken on after these anxiety triggering events from your school. So it's important to merge this together and see like, no, I actually am the same person when I'm in, my job as I can also be in social settings. I just need to really encourage this anxious side of me that wants me to continue to avoid, to trust me and know it's gonna be okay. We don't have to be friends with everyone, but we can certainly be friendly with all those people we meet and feel good about ourselves. You cannot gain trust by only thinking about what you could be doing. You can only gain trust by also taking action and sometimes making that leap of faith or taking that risk and realizing, oh, wow, look, I got judged. Or look, I actually didn't know what to say and I'm still okay. I didn't spontaneously combust. The earth is still turning. That feels very, very freeing. It doesn't have to be always 100% successful. It's also okay to not really hit the mark and still realizing, great, just by doing it, it was already progress. And then there is the pleasing pattern, which is the one where we are just trying to get other people's approval or a sense of fitting in by caretaking, by being like them, trying to always adjust how we are supposed to be in order to be, liked or fit in. This can be either on social media, this can be with your family, this can be at work. The caretakers, the peacemakers, the helpers, all are those patterns that come often from an anxious mind that has found out that if people like me, I don't get rejected. If I somehow am getting some approval or at least am accepted and fit in, I'm not ending up alone. If I put all my eggs in the basket of that one person and that person loves me and that person gives me a sense of safety, I'm gonna be okay. So it basically is similar to the avoidance pattern where, again, security is outside of you. The difference is just that in the pleaser pattern, you put the security literally into the hands of other people. So the anxiety says, it's not you who is the source of safety. It's actually Joe Schmo and Linda B. And all of those people are the ones that we need to make sure that they're okay with us, because you are not the one I can trust in. Again, when we are trying to either avoid or please, we are not getting our anxious side feel closer and more secure within ourselves. And so our inner peace and well-being becomes very conditional. The condition of either having nothing that threatens us or the condition of somehow getting some little, attention and approval from others. It's not necessarily something that bodes well for creating a strong foundation of peace and also self-worth. Because if your self-worth depends on others, well, it's pretty much as fleeting as lighting a matchstick. You know, as soon as the flame is out, as soon as the approval is gone, you feel as dark and as cold as before. So it is distracting you from yourself. Both of those patterns, and that is also true with a controlling pattern. Now, you can control other people's opinions by being a overachiever and being the strong one and feeling like, yes, everyone admires me and no one really knows me. So then you're sitting somehow on the high horse and you feel like, safe, because as long as you play that persona of being the one who has it all together and is a winner, no one gonna see how you really feel inside. I mean, that's where a lot of people have this imposter syndrome, where in the end, they know there is a vulnerable, anxious, insecure, sad aspect of them that they are so scared of showing anyone that they are really working hard on just appearing, basically as someone who cannot be fathomed by anything. And I feel like, and there's a whole different topic, I just want to bring it up quickly, that a lot of narcissists are really ultimately in that place where they're pretending to, be this great, and they're even pretending to themselves that they're better than everyone else, and there's, it's only about them. But deep inside, there is often this real deep anxiety and shame that they are so scared of being not only exposed, but even being, registered and seen by themselves, that they get more and more entangled in this very, very dysfunctional behavior. But again, in general, when you try to control how you want to be seen, it is usually bringing you away from yourself, because it's still more important to you what other people are thinking of you than really who you know yourself to be. And then there are the people that control their anxiety through anger and through dominance and through micromanagement. And I mean, I had a client who was incredibly anxious, and I understood why, because she had a really, really difficult childhood, growing up in different foster homes with lots of trauma. But she was then in her adult time so micromanaging that basically everybody around her, including her husband, was yelled at and often chastised for no reason. And she needed to be always, updated, even when they did a road trip. Where are we going? Where are we stopping? Which direction are we? Which path are we taking? And if that didn't happen, she freaked out. I mean, her anxiety was suppressed by her anger. And that anger ultimately was making the anxiety feel even worse. Because if you are always an angry person who likes to control everything, you pretty much are, in a place of no-win situation. Because let's face it, we cannot control everything, and certainly not the people around us or all the circumstances. So that need to have control as the way to feel less anxious, well, unfortunately, that does not work. And that sense of, well, in the end, we are out of control, only increases the anxiety. And then that anger and frustration and irritation when there is no control makes this anxious side even feel more disconnected and scared of you, because, well, maybe you had a very angry or rageaholic parent, and that's where your anxiety came from. And if you're acting exactly the same way, well, guess what? Your subconscious says, oh, you're not much better. I gotta better, distance myself from you and hide out and look for others to feel better. And that creates this famous disconnect from yourself, and your subconscious doesn't trust you. Your subconscious looks for other ways just to get a little bit of a sense of comfort, and that certainly postpones further your healing journey. So realize anything that you do to cope with anxiety that may give you an instant gratification of having something avoided or getting a little stroke of approval or feeling like, now I'm in charge, I'm actually powerful, I'm not weak, look, I'm in control, is ultimately backfiring because your anxiety doesn't get addressed. Your anxiety gets either cuddled through the avoidance, your anxiety gets put in other people's hands through the pleasing, or your anxiety gets suppressed through this pretending of having the power and being in control. Nothing is really healing the anxiety, and nothing is fostering really that sense of self-trust that the anxiety needs to be able to let go of that self-protective, reactionary patterns that it has since you were really very young. At least for most of us, that's the case. So, step back and look at those patterns and realize what I'm doing is basically telling myself that the anxiety is some, liability that I just have to live with. And here I'm just facing the anxiety by putting myself out there and ignoring it. And again, going into this control pattern, or I just feel uncomfortable, so I need a lot of people to make me feel comfortable, or I'm going to become this little hermit crab who is hiding out and saying, well, my life is just this little, always shrinking comfort zone, and that's how I need to, basically be for the rest of my life and just wait until it's over. That's not how you have to live. And that's certainly not what your anxiety needs. So step out of these patterns and become the person that you could imagine your anxious little self would have wanted as a kind, caring, compassionate parent. And take on the patterns of that parent that is taking the anxiety serious without buying into its message, but really answering the questions that I mentioned before, without ignoring it and trying to just control it, and without making others as the feedback, the mirror of your own self-worth, but taking time to look at yourself and realizing, no, I actually do have anything I need inside of me to feel at peace, to feel safe, and to also ultimately love and appreciate myself. It is just not something I'm used to, and maybe it's something no one ever showed me how to do.
Hi, Dr. Friedemann here. Thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more about fear and anxiety, here you'll find guided meditations, webinars, and interviews with some of the most renowned experts in the field of empowerment. Delve into the over 230 videos and more to come every week.